What's up, gamers with the Y? It's me, Daniel. It's late. It's great to see you today. How are you guys? Today, everyone, I'm doing something a little different. So this isn't my normal style video. I wanted to talk about a movie, which I've never really done before on my channel. Growing up, one of the few things I really did with my mom to bond with her, because, you know, we had a terrible relationship, if you couldn't tell, we would watch movies together. My mom loved movies. Every year, we would watch every single Oscar-winning movie, because that's what she loved doing, and she would make me watch with her, and it was really enjoyable. I definitely saw Moonlight before I should have. Good movie, but too young. But today, everyone, I wanted to talk about a movie and a franchise that are very near and dear to my heart and have been in my life since I was in middle school. The Five Nights at Freddy's video game has been a staple of indie horror ever since it was released, and was one of the first viral horror games to blow up on YouTube thanks to content creators such as Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and MatPat, and many more people. At the time, Five Nights at Freddy's was the first of its kind. Horror games at the time were more akin to games like Slender and Amnesia, so Five Nights at Freddy's was a new spin on the formula. Rather than letting you explore your surroundings and run away from the horror, you were trapped in a room with only 2 doors and a handful of cameras to protect you. And recently, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was released on streaming services and theaters. On release, critics gave the Five Nights at Freddy's movie a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, and fans gave it an 89%. Now, those are pretty extreme scores. A 28 is so low, and an 89 is very high. So, I'll ask the question, are either of these scores correct for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie? No, they are both so wrong. Both of these scores are either too high or way too low. Honestly, looking at the movie from an objective lens, the score should be something way closer to the middle. And you know why? It's because the movie's mid. Now, don't go getting mad. I love the FNAF movie. From an objective standpoint, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is not an amazing movie. It's close, but it's not amazing. I grew up on FNAF. I want y'all to know, I grew up on Five Nights at Freddy's. I've watched almost every single lore video from MatPat. I've seen so many playthroughs of the game. This is my childhood I'm talking about. So don't go out there saying, you hate FNAF, Danny. You hate nostalgia. No, I love this movie. But there are some very glaring flaws that unfortunately I cannot ignore. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the issues dragging this movie down, but also what made the movie so great to watch. Today, everyone, we're going to talk about one of the goofiest, most nostalgic, mediocre movies of all time, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. We're going to start with talking about one of the best and worst aspects of this movie, the characters. The characters in this movie are some of the best parts of this movie, but at the same time are some of the most egregious errors in this film. Let's start with Mike, the main character. Mike is the best character in this movie, hands down. Mike is a sensible person who makes sensible decisions and is trying to do his best. Unfortunately, Mike is a sane man in an insane world. Mike is constantly making rational, reasonable decisions, and then the people around him treat him like he's insane. The biggest example I can think of this in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is the fort scene with Abby, Vanessa, and the animatronics. Abby wants to go play with the animatronics, so Mike tries to set ground rules for playing with the 3-ton possessed ghost robots. And rather than agreeing and supporting Mike in this reasonable request, Vanessa immediately dismisses his concerns and encourages Abby to play recklessly with the forklift certified ghost robots by suggesting they use tables for their fort. Tables? What? Later in this scene, Vanessa and Mike leave for a moment, in which Mike tries to talk to Vanessa in a back room. In this back room, Mike finds a spring lock suit. It's very dangerous. Roll the clip, Mads.
Oh my god, like
Spring locks? Like,
holy shit!
like
Oh my
like
god,
spring
it's so
trap?
Oh my god, the Five Nights at Freddy's game. Jesus Christ.
Mike finds a spring lock suit, which Vanessa shows him how dangerous they are. Mike then gets reasonably angry and confronts Vanessa, asking why she didn't tell him about something this dangerous, as it might accidentally hurt Abby. I'd say that's pretty reasonable, right? Well, not Vanessa, because Vanessa then turns around, looks at Mike, and says,
You're the one who brought her, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't wrap my head around his
You're the one who brought her! You're the one who brought her here, Mike. What I can't figure out is why. Now, I want to point out, at this point in the movie, Abby's babysitter is dead. Bite of 87.
Whoever just did that biting noise scared the shit out of me.
Was that the bite of 87? Was that the bite of 87? Dead. Gone. Kaput's done. Abby doesn't have someone to take care of her at home. So Mike, with no other options, has to take her to work. Why is Abby there at the building with Mike? Well, is Mike gonna leave a 10-year-old at home unattended all night? I don't think so. I should also just quickly make a side note that Mike does want Abby to ask the animatronics about the disappearance of his younger brother. But the initial reason she was brought to the fucking pizzeria is because of necessity, not out of selfish means. It's It's Vanessa. Another side note, another tangent. Mike had no idea the animatronics were violent and under the influence of William Afton. Well, Vanessa, on the other hand, this entire time, knew the danger these animatronics posed towards Abby, and still encouraged Abby to play with these animatronics unattended. She knew that they were going to try and kill her. And yet, Vanessa still turns this around on Mike, trying to deflect blame and making him feel like he's crazy and the bad guy. This world was created to gaslight Mike. Is this like a personal form of hell or something? God, it's happened so much throughout the movie. Watch the movie and you'll see what I'm talking about. Following the interaction Vanessa and Mike had in the back room, Abby goes to play with Bonnie's guitar. Bonnie's guitar has a very special quirk. Instead of having normal guitar strings, has live electrical wires, which Abby touches and gets shocked and flying. Guess who knew about the live wires on the guitar? You guessed it, Vanessa.
Abby?
Vanessa, this is your fault.
Yes.
This is your fault, Vanessa.
Oh, fuck yes. Oh, my
This is
favorite
your fault.
part of the movie. Get fucked, bitch. Get fucked.
Vanessa,
100%.
that's on you. That's on you. You fucking did that. You
Look, she
enabled
got
this
fucking
behavior.
electrocuted and her bangs fucking shrunk.
After Abby gets electrocuted by live electrical wire, Vanessa and Mike take Abby outside and are about to go home. Vanessa then turns to Mike and says,
You can do whatever you want with your own life, but if you ever bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you.
you can do whatever you want with your own life, but if you ever bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you. Now, Vanessa might have said this because she knew the animatronics wanted to eventually kill Abby and put her into an animatronic suit. But if that's the case, why did she allow Abby to interact with the animatronics in the first place? Instead of telling Mike, no, let's actually not have Abby play with the fucking ghost robots. Let's get her out of here. She says, let's build with tables. Vanessa in this movie, by far, unfortunately, is the worst written character. Her motives are unclear throughout the entire film. While enabling Abby to interact with the killer animatronics, she chastises Mike for even bringing her into the same building as these things. She claims to have tried to help Mike in her own way by the end of the movie, but doesn't do anything substantial or anything clear to direct Mike away from the animatronics or the pizzeria. At the end of the movie, there is a small implication that Vanessa was supposed to help kill Abby,
You may have forgotten your loyalties, but I assure you, they have not.
but apparently changed her mind after spending time with her. The problem with this theory is that Vanessa doesn't change her personality, demeanor, or behavior. She just acts the same until she turns to Mike and threatens to shoot him. This doesn't come off as a genuine change in heart. This comes off as jarring and strange. Because Vanessa's motives and choices are never explained, her flippant and erratic behavior confuses the audience just as much as it confuses Mike. She goes from, this kid is fine around these deadly animatronics, I'll make jokes to her brother about not needing rules, to spending 15 minutes building a fort, and then suddenly being Abby's #1 defender, blaming Mike for bringing her somewhere he didn't know was dangerous. Now, in Vanessa's defense, I do want to talk about a theory I have. So now, it's time for a theory! A Vanessa theory! It is explicitly shown and said by Vanessa that in any confrontation against her father, she will be useless. She feels powerless against him. Now, what her trauma doesn't explain is her very flippant behavior towards Mike and Abby. If her trauma and relationship with her father were more explored in depth throughout the movie, her behavior might make a little more sense. Her hesitancy in withholding information would make a lot more sense if we as an audience were shown in some way that she was still deeply connected and tied to her father. If she was shown in some way that she still lived with her dad, lived in constant contact with William, or in some other way was shown to be under the constant influence and control of her abuser, it would make the secretive nature much more founded and not confusing. It would also make the change in her behavior a lot more clear when she spent more time with Abby, and the situation and threat of Abby being killed became much more real to her, just like it did when she was a child. Now, I said, I wish we could have seen these things, because we don't. That's not in the movie. Vanessa is glossed over as a character in favor of Balloon Boy jump scares. And it's really unfortunate. We have to pull from pre-existing lore and context clues about the relationship between Vanessa and her father. And it's unfortunate that that's not concrete, because if that was explained a little bit better, I believe it would really make Vanessa a real, well-written character. But unfortunately, that's just a theory, a Vanessa theory that I hope gets explored in the later 2 movies that are slated to come out already, because if they did, it would really save her character, and it's really frustrating to watch and see this because Mike is a good person and Vanessa's confusing. Like, what the fuck? Anyways, this is a Hayden Christensen prequel Star Wars situation.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
Just how it goes. that are inside of those machines.
my
Oh
God,
wow, I'm
Ghost
so
in the
good at
Machine.
this.
It's their bodies.
The writing for the character is subpar, but the acting is great. The actress did an amazing job, and I really wish that the script reflected her performance, because she did a phenomenal job. You can only say one line so many ways, and you can only dive deep into one emotion so much when the writing changes that emotion every 2 goddamn seconds. You can't commit to a bit if the bit keeps fucking changing. And speaking of bad writing for the movie, let's talk about the antagonist. The antagonist of the movie isn't William Afton. It's the bad writing. So let's talk about William Afton then. Okay, I want to explain myself here, because what I might be saying is a hot take. Matthew Lillard was amazing in this movie, in spite of his character. Matthew Lillard, as an actor, carried the end of this movie. William Afton, the character, was not included in the movie enough to be a good antagonist. William only works as the antagonist because of the pre-existing Five Nights at Freddy's lore. The issue with William Afton as an antagonist is that he's literally just not in the movie enough. At the beginning of the movie, he appears as a job counselor under a fake name in a fake job. We know nothing about the antagonist yet. Then, at the end of the movie, they throw him back in as William Afton.
Are you challenging me?
The problem with having him appear at the beginning and come back in at the end is that there's no emotional connection between the two. There's no interconnectedness in the plot. The reveal feels cheap because he's barely in the movie at all. He is not built up as an antagonist, he's not alluded till to the end of the movie, and in most of his scenes, we don't even know his real name. So when it's revealed that Matthew Lillard is actually the villain, I feel nothing. I don't feel satisfied. I just feel thankful I get to see Matthew Lillard's sweet, beautiful face. The reveal just falls flat. But that's not on the fault of Matthew Lillard. Matthew did an amazing job, in spite of the writing. I really wish I had got to see him more as William Afton, being a villain, or more manipulative, or something. But that's the problem. The problem is, I wanted more, and there was nothing there to begin with. God, the Springtrap scene at the end is so good! Why can't there have been more? Come back, Matthew Lillard. You always do, please. To recap what we've been talking about, Mike is a good main character because he has clear, concise motivations throughout the entire movie and is well written. William Afton was a good antagonist, not because of the writing and plot, but because Matthew Lillard carried that shit on his back and he's an amazing actor.
What? I didn't know this.
Look at the nasty things that you have become. Look how small you are. How worthless you are.
How small you are.
Wretched, rotten little beast.
Vanessa could have been a very compelling character, but unfortunately, due to bad writing and an unclear motive and a change in that motive, the character falls flat and we are left feeling more frustrated than actually relating to her. Now, there is something I want to talk about that isn't really pertinent to the plot, but it feels like it's important to talk about because a lot of people are really conflicted on the scene. I want to talk a little bit about the fort scene real quick, so we're gonna do that. God, I hate this scene. This is the worst. This is the worst scene in the entire movie. I swear to God.
So I think we need to lay some ground rules, all right? Vanessa, what do you think?
I think we could use the tables for the fort.
Vanessa, fuck you.
So I've been talking about the fort scene a little bit, and from what I've been saying, you might be under the impression that I don't like the fort scene, which you'd be correct. I don't like it. It's really not like, but it's not for the reasons you think. Just wait! The fort scene, in my opinion, is a necessary scene to the plot of the movie. The scene shows the innocence of children juxtaposed to their horrifying robotic bodies and their death. It shows that these ghosts, really at heart, are just kids, and seeing them try to continue to just try and be kids in these massive hulking robot shells is really sweet but sad to see. At least it would be sweet and sad to see, if not for the horrible editing choices that make it look like a montage from a commercial from Spirit Halloween in 2003. The scene loses all emotion and feeling because of the way it's shot and edited. It could have been a really powerful scene conveying the innocence of these hulking beasts that at their core are true and innocent. But instead, we got this goofy, unskippable ad for Freddy Fazbear's and their forklift-certified robots. What I'm trying to say is that the scene is almost good, but because of really strange editing choices, we have this scene that just kind of sucks. So I get when people say they don't like the scene, but I also understand what people say when they say they do like the scene. It conveys that childlike innocence. It shows that these horrible things that will try and kill people later on are just kids. Unfortunately, the music, the shots, and just the way it all is put together really makes it just kind of bad. I really think they should have reshot it to make it a little more emotional, because right now it just feels tonally discordant from what's happening around it, and maybe that's the point. If that is the point, get a different editor. Anyways, I almost liked the scene. That's what I wanted to say. It was so close to being a good scene, and I'm really disappointed that it wasn't. Oh! 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 It's Matthew Patrick! It's Matthew Patrick! It's Matthew Patrick! It's Matthew Patrick!
Are you being paid by?
Oh! Yeah! Yeah! He fucking said it! That's just a thing! The plot of the movie is honestly fine. I really just have a few minor nitpicks here and there, but besides those issues, the plot is serviceable and it works well for the movie. Firstly, I think the movie tried to tackle really complex topics and ideas, but they weren't really able to connect those ideas to the actual plot of the movie. The biggest example of this is the idea that children use pictures to visualize and explain their perspective of the world because they don't have the emotional maturity or words to explain their perspective or feelings yet. Now, that's a really big topic, and it's a really cool idea to connect to the deeper concept of the movie because it's something that all humans do. Not everyone is going to understand us as an individual, and sometimes we don't even have the words to understand our feelings and our perspective ourselves. We can't articulate that all the time. Unfortunately, I don't think the concept was included or explored enough throughout the movie to justify its importance at the climax of the film. At the beginning of the movie, Abby is shown to be withdrawn from other children, choosing to draw by herself rather than interact with other kids. Throughout the rest of the movie, Abby is shown interacting and doing art only 2 more times, with very little importance set on the actual doing and creating of art. At the climax of the movie, Abby makes a drawing showing the animatronics the true nature of William Afton, exposing the truth that the children's ghosts forgot, the fact that William Afton killed them. As strong of a concept as I believe this is, I don't think it was explored or included enough in the movie to justify it being the turning point of the entire finale. This plot point has the same issue as William Afton does in the movie. It's not included enough or built up enough to actually have substantial value at the end. So when the antagonist shows up and this drawing becomes the turning point of the film, it really just feels hollow because it's not built up enough throughout the rest of the movie. But that's my biggest issue with the plot. And honestly, I don't really think that it's that big of a deal. Could it be worse? Yeah, it could be worse. Could it be better if the idea was expanded upon and included more in the movie? Absolutely. But it's fine, and it works, and it's fine. My only other issue with the plot is, why the fuck did William Afton go into the middle of the woods in Nebraska to kidnap a child when he already had a pizza place filled with hundreds of kids where he's killing kids anyways? What's the point? Why did he just go into the woods and just, I'm gonna kidnap this kid and stab him in the throat like he was doing all the other kids? He had hundreds! It just makes no sense. That's it. Those are my 2 issues. Otherwise, the plot's fine. Okay, I've been talking a lot about the issues of the movie, but I really want to talk about the things I enjoyed, so that's what we're gonna do now. The best part of Five Nights at Freddy's movie, by far, is the practical effects and costumes. The animatronic suits are some of the best looking set pieces and costumes I've ever seen. And the Springtrap suit is one of the greatest costumes I've ever seen on film. It looks so good. Roll the clip, Mads.
Oh no,
Mads.
it's Frederick. Oh no, it's the money.
Mads, please.
Oh no. Where have you been hiding?
Seeing these characters on screen is such an experience. I can't describe it. I've been seeing these characters since I was 13, and it's crazy to think that this franchise has come such a far way. The nostalgia I get from watching this movie is palpable. Is that part of the reason I enjoyed it so much? Yeah, probably. But that's a good thing, right? Not every movie is going to be for everyone, but that's fine. This movie was for me. It's for me. It's my movie. Fuck you. But you know what I mean. This movie is something I've been waiting for since I was in middle school. That's when this movie was announced. When I was in middle school, 7th grade, I remember hearing that there was going to be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I was sitting in my social studies 7th grade class with Mr. H. I remember the kid next to me was like, yo, did you know there's gonna be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie? And I was like, no way. I remember that. And being able to see these characters brought to life with such care, love, and attention, it's awesome. It's amazing. I love it. The one nitpick I have with the effects is the cupcake. We love Carl. Carl's great. There's one particular scene when Carl, or Mr. Cupcake, attacks Mike and starts gnawing on his leg. Now, why did this scene stand out? Well, because it's not using practical effects, it's using CGI. Now, I'm not trying to insult the CGI team by saying the CGI is bad. It's not, but it's just a testament to how good the practical effects team is to really convey and show the weight of this animatronic cupcake. The animation and CGI was not bad. It's just so noticeably different and jarring in comparison to the practical effects we've been seeing all movie that it just really ended up being distracting, and it really took me out of the moment. Besides this one tiny nitpick, the rest of the effects in the movie are phenomenal. One of the best parts of this movie. Another amazing aspect of this movie I talked a little bit about earlier is the acting. Josh Hutcherson's back must be broken the way he carried himself this movie. Oh my god, he was so good. Elizabeth Lail and Matthew Lillard were also phenomenal. I just wish their writing was better, and they were included more in a more substantial way. I really wish I could have seen them together in more scenes as well, because their dynamic as a father and daughter in a very toxic and tenuous relationship is so good. And I really wish I got to see that more, and I hope we do in the next couple movies. Now, I can't speak to the performance of the child actors because I hate children. Look,
Fucking
she
hate this
built
kid.
a fort.
Kids building forts? Fuck them.
That should be my fort, you fuck.
I hate this kid.
That's a stupid fucking drawing.
I hate her.
I hate this kid. I hate this kid. This kid sucks.
Monkey.
Made a mess. Sorry.
Yeah, you did, you fucking bitch.
Then I
Look
smell
at
like singing.
what is that fucking acting? She's so bad.
Fuck this child.
Look at her dumb fucking face. I'm sorry.
Berries and cream ass haircut.
The Five Nights at Freddy's movie has a lot of faults, yes, but for all its shortcomings, I really enjoyed the movie. Being able to see one of my favorite childhood video games in a movie is, again, an experience that I can't describe. The nostalgia this movie evokes for me is something very genuine and rare. I wasn't allowed to play video games growing up, so I would watch people on YouTube play these games. All these creators, Markiplier, MatPat, all these people contributed to something great in my childhood, and seeing the influence they've had on people besides myself is amazing. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie may not be a good movie, but it's not just the movie that's good, it's the experience. It's the years leading up to this, and finally being able to see something that I've cared about for so long as a movie. The Five Nights at Freddy's franchise is something a lot of people care deeply about, and I'm so glad that the franchise is getting the recognition that it deserves. Overall, is the movie a cinematic masterpiece? No. Could it have been? Maybe, but it's definitely not a bad movie. It's a fun movie. It's dumb and a little confusing, but it's also goofy and nostalgic, especially when you're watching this with friends. This movie could have been a lot better, but this movie was stuck in production hell for 8 years, I think? But that really just gives me hope on the next couple movies. I hope that the next two films explain things better and expand on what we saw in this movie. At the end of the day, this is an enjoyable movie that you should watch if you like Five Nights at Freddy's. And I think that's way more important rather than arguing whether it's a good or bad movie. Overall, I give the movie a 6 out of 10. It's not amazing, but it's not horrible. Is the movie confusing? Yes. Is the movie badly written at times? Absolutely. But again, it's not just about the movie for me, because it's not just me watching. It's me from when I was in middle school and all the other kids growing up who finally get to see something that they care about on screen. So was the Five Nights at Freddy's movie almost a masterpiece? Yeah. Is it bad at times? Yeah. But that's fine, because at the end of the day, I got to experience this with so many people who also care about Five Nights at Freddy's. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see more movie breakdowns in the future, comment and like the video. I'd very much appreciate that. Comment down below what you thought of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I know this is a really important movie to a lot of people, so...
I always come back.
Tell me what you think. The world's a bad place, so we can make it better. Go get food and water. Take your meds. Feed your hamster. Do that. Go tell someone you love them. Remember that. Anyways, if you like the video, I'll see you later. Peace. Please that again! I'm about to take Five Nights at Freddy's!